penultimate round of the Big Grid Thursday Championship here on America's Racing League. Hello and welcome in, everybody, to Big Grid Thursdays live from Watkins, Glen in upstate New York. I'm Jesse Lee, joined by Jack Mays, bringing you coverage of round number 9. It's a soggy upstate New York in Watkins, Glen, but qualifying underway anyway for the AM contingent. Jack, welcome in, and I hope that you brought your umbrella with you as well.
Yeah, I did. I'm feeling a bit under the weather myself. Nothing ready to get me rolling. Then a little bit of GT3 Thursdays. It seems I brought the down and out weather with me, but it's just a little bit of light rain. Looking like skies are gonna clear at some point before the end of our racing event tonight. But I'm glad to be back. Technical issues kept us away last week, but we're here. We're ready. I'm excited, Jesse. I know you're just brimming with excitement as well. We love this series. We love these races. It's a highlight of my week as a broadcaster and commentator. And it's almost coming to an end. Penultimate round, like you said. Is it gonna get, closed out tonight? Are we gonna be crowning a championship elect this evening? Is it gonna go to the final round? Selfishly, Jesse, I kind of hope it goes to the final round.
Well, we will certainly see. A couple of the championships are looking quite close to being done and dusted. However, the Pro-Am Championship is completely knotted up here with 2 rounds left to go. More on the championship standings after qualifying, of course. And let's talk about Watkins Glen for just a moment. 3.4 miles around. That's 5.6 kilometers. If you care, the lap record around here is in an Indy car. In fact, it's 1 minute 23.9. We won't be troubling the lap record here at the Glen. Of course, we are running the boot, not the NASCAR circuit, so we have heel and toe, and that adds a couple of extra corners to the racetrack, totaling about 11 documented corners. Qualifying well underway. Cody May, current quickest in the AM category. Each category has its own qualifying session. It's a 59.7 now for Bryce McClafferty, going to the top, where we've seen him just about every round this season, Jack.
He's been absolutely on top of it. Basically, we've talked about him maybe being in need of a promotion, but a championship in hand in the AM class, of course. And given a little bit more time, the grid's a little large. Qualifying can be super important, especially in a wet race. So race organizers decided, let's extend it just a little bit. Give 10 minutes for the AM drivers and give the rest of the 10 for the Pro and the Pro-Am. They seem to be able to make their way through just a little bit cleaner, just a little bit better. Give space where space can be afforded. And, it's certain to be a good session. Give us a good idea of how it looks when it's a little bit wet in New York. And right now, could be worse. Jesse, moderately wet on the circuit. I was perusing through the cars in the practice session. Lots of frantic steering, lots of sliding around, but it looks reasonably hooked up who we've seen so far, and they're gonna have to carry this into the race session. Excuse me. It's something where I looked at the forecast. We got light rain from qualifying to maybe about the first 20 minutes into the race. Will that come true? Will it all be undone in the first corner? I don't know. That's the beautiful thing about race day.
Yeah, I think the thing that I noticed about the track conditions currently in this sort of rain setting is that it's not evenly wet. There's certain parts of the racetrack that are sort of underwater, and other parts of it don't seem like it's bothered that much. Certainly as we get to the boot, that's turn 6, 7, and 8, where we just came out of. In fact, you saw a lot of the parts of the track that were kind of submerged, very tricky indeed. And then you get to the start-finish line here on pitch straight before turn 1, and it looks considerably better. Almost, I wouldn't say the sun peeking out necessarily, but it doesn't look quite as bad here in this section. You're seeing that right now, but certainly some tricky corners. We saw a couple of cars go off, and in fact, I believe I saw Cody May, while you were talking, reset as well, and Craig Searcy doing the exact same. Sean Ricky Hunt also having issue in the section I'm talking about. All of those cars I just mentioned had their issues between the chute and turn 9. So very treacherous part of the racetrack indeed. But you also got to pay close attention to the inner loop. They call it the inner loop. or I have always called it the bus stop because I'm about as old as Watkins Glen is as well. But Bryce McClafferty continuing to dwindle down the time. It's a 59.443. Ricky Hunt has joined them in the 59 bracket, a 59.9. And realistically, Jack, I think the question becomes, can anyone stop the domination of Bryce McClafferty? Nobody has really been able to show that they have been able to thus far, and certainly doesn't look like they're going to be able to today. But just as I say that, Dawson does come through at a 59.655. That's 2/10 off of the pole time. So maybe a new challenger is here could potentially dethrone Bryce McClafferty.
It could be a little tip about some of the drivers we're seeing tonight and some new names. There are actually a lot of, well, they're ARL members, some members of the ARL staff, more primarily over on the Le Mans Ultimate side of things. I can tell you that this car right here, the 333, is our very own Tetsuo Hideyoshi, who's come to play in the rain over on iRacing. And I know he's quick in a GT3 car over on that side, but, well, he was going quick. So a little dip into the grass and into the wall at the exit of turn number 5. A nice reset for him, but hopefully, maybe, well, I was going to say not enough time to actually get back out because the clock has ticked past 10 minutes, which means should very well be the pro drivers have come out. You can see them all streaming onto the circuit. Names that we know, names that we love, and names that are sure to be topping the times fairly soon. I wonder, is the track maybe going to dry up a little bit? It seems to only be getting more wet as the session goes on. So, I mean, Jesse, there's a sort of universe here where Bryce McClafferty starts on pole overall.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Reading chat as we tend to do here. It's the home track for PNW. Well, welcome home. I hope that your travel to the racetrack was a bit more abbreviated than usual. Corey, though, has mentioned exactly what you're talking about. Could be some mix-ups in Pro-Am and Pro. Track's getting progressively more wet. Went from light to moderate midway through the AM qualifying session. So right you are. This could be very interesting indeed. We'll have to pay attention. McClafferty did manage a 59.069 right at the end. A nice improvement. And may that be the mix-up that they're talking about. McClafferty doesn't hang around. Staple inside the top 10 regardless of their classification. And with the harder rain, we'll see just what they're able to do. Everybody getting in a nice banker lap here might be more imperative than normal if the track is continuing to deteriorate and get more and more slick. We'll see as they continue to race around. Another question in chat, is this practice for America's Racing League? No, this is qualifying and the race. Welcome into round 9 at Watkins Glen.
Everything's going to come down to this. I mean, they've been battling all season long, 8 rounds deep, and we're looking at the championship. And of course, we'll talk more about it as the race progresses and get a clearer picture of what might be happening tonight.
Look at how wet this is.
It is absolutely soaked through the final sector. We're on board with none other than the Dadman GT, Paul O'Malley, reigning champion from last season, overall swell human being as well, just showing us what it looks like a little bit. It's far more damp than it was earlier on, and he's starting his first hot lap. Never mind, that was his first banker lap, and look at that gap to Bryce McClafferty, 4 thousandths of a second. I said maybe Bryce could be on pole. Paul O'Malley saying still got a little bit of gas in the tank, and Michael Hickman coming close as well. We should see time start to pour in, get a good feeling for how this field's going to shake up. We have far more drivers that are on the tower right now, ladies and gentlemen. It's looking like close to 30 cars that have come to play in the rain. So it's sure to be absolutely phenomenal. Don't go anywhere. Of course, 5 minutes left in qualifying there, thereabouts. A wet circuit that's going to become a slightly damp race, and we should be seeing a wet to dry transition. One of my favorite things in racing, Jesse, is a good weather transition. It absolutely challenges so much of your ability to race. How can you drive on a changing track? How well can your strategy stack up And, well, the other thing that people don't often talk about, how lucky are you today? Because it could all come undone at any moment.
Yeah, that's where you and me differ, my friend. I love a dry racetrack. I love a wet racetrack. I hate when it's sort of changing and changeable. It is the most frustrating and anxiety ridden thing that you can do in a race car because the lines, the braking, the turn in, the grip, it's all never where you found it last. It's very tricky indeed. But great drivers can get it done. Victor Mendez Polanco goes top of the board ahead of Ted Piper now. A 58.771. The Pro-Ams showing out here early in this quali session as the pros are the ones playing catch up.
I mean, they say rain is the great equalizer, and that's very true in a qualifying session. It just comes down to you and your machine. There's no innate pace difference really between cars. Some might be better than others, but where can you find the 10th that another driver can't? Where can you find the best possible line on the circuit? It it takes a unique type of skill and a skill that not everybody has. You could be great on a dry track and suddenly your competitor far better in the wet. Sam Graff resetting the fastest lap in qualifying so far. The times are still ticking down. They're still coming in. We're looking at Piotr Shabilski right now. He's got a lot to gain and a lot to lose tonight. He still hasn't set his banker lap. Hopefully going to do it this time. And hopefully it's going to be quick because championship is on the line for Piotr Shabilski.
Yeah, and you don't want to have to come through the field. Watkins Glen's a track where you can get a lot of passing done. There's some drivers that'll disagree with me and say, no, it's hard to pass at Watkins Glen. I completely disagree with that statement. It's actually one of the easier racetracks in North America to make passes on, or at least get the opportunity to get side by side on. Of course, there's several spots around here you don't want to be side by side. Case in point, the S's we're about to start up right now, but it is one of the easier passing circuits, in my opinion. However, in this weather condition, in the mixed up running where you've got Pro-Am, Pro, and Am, of course, all mixed together because of the qualifying, because of the grip, and because of the weather, you don't want to be in the middle of this field. You want to be as close to the front as possible. You don't want to have to make all of these passes on the road because you don't want to have to go offline. Of course, iRacing has the run-in line, the wet line, and then the completely soaked, flooded outskirts of the racetrack. You don't want to be forced onto the painted areas either as much as you can help it. That's why qualifying today is intensely important at a track where most of the time, maybe you could do a last to first challenge, especially here in America's Racing League where the racing is top notch. But today is not that day. You don't want to do that. Everyone chasing the pro driver in the Porsche, Sam Graff, a 58.473, 2/10 there or thereabouts, quicker than anybody else. Victor Mendez Polanco currently shares the front row. Ted Piper, and it was David Barkley, but Benjamin Gallant has gone P2 and has been shifted down to third because David Barkley has gone top of the heap. It's a 58.2 now.
It seems like every time you say somebody's name, they just go that little bit quicker. So who are you choosing next? Who's going to go towards the top of the times? I still put my money on Piotr Shabilski. Still hasn't set a lap time, though. If he doesn't do it this time, he's going to have one more opportunity. I think at this point, it's not about setting a good lap. It's about setting a lap, because the last thing he wants to do is start from the back of the field. A couple more drivers still waiting on lap times from them, few of them on the circuit, and we'll sort of see coming around the final corner. Is Shabilski screaming V8 in a bit of rain? He's going to come across the line. Is it a timed lap? Is it a good one? It is. It's a 1:57.7. It took him a little bit longer to do it, but my goodness, Jesse, he's pulled it off.
I wasn't worried. I knew Piotr had it in the bank all the time. A 57.7, clear of everyone else for the time being, and took him a few attempts to get that lap in, but the main thing is that he did. But you were absolutely right in saying that any lap was better than none, but that is the best case scenario right now for Piotr Shabilski. Here comes the dad man GT Ford Mustang. Paul O'Malley briefly was on the pole position as he picked up. We'll see where he goes, and he does. He picks up about 3 or 4 spots, a 58.5 now, good enough for a top 5 starting position, and that's going to be it for qualifying for the Dadman Ford Mustang. Everybody else on a flying lap will get to complete their lap, including this driver, David Barkley, who has just been shifted down to third place. But will they pick up? Yes, they will. Just enough to go back to P2. It's a 58.12 versus Benjamin Gallant's 58.14. Just about 2/100ths in it between those two. Everybody chasing Piotr Shabilski's 57.7. Nobody relatively close as qualifying coming to the end. Just about 4 cars left to finish.
And we're still waiting. They might come with some upsets. I'm curious. Ted Piper, he's going to come down pit lane, not looking to improve, not looking to set anything better. Javi Sanabria, one of the final cars to come across, he does improve up a couple of spots. It seems that, well, we thought the circuit was getting wetter, and I think the drivers, though, lap after lap, were just improving, just finding their way in. Piotr Shabilski comes through, doesn't improve on his lap. Actually, that's incorrect. He does improve on his lap by about 5/10. I was going to say, I don't think it really mattered. Nobody there to challenge. Victor Mendez Polanco briefly held pole position, now down into 7th. The driver we all wait on with bated breath. The final moment. Will we see an incredible upset in qualifying? Will we see Victor put in the lap of his dreams? I don't know. The good news, we don't have to wait long to find out. He's going to come across the line, take the checkered flag in qualifying, and it's going to be no improvement on the fields. That will do for qualifying. It was, it was a typical wet qualifying, I call it, Jesse. Who knows what's going to happen, because the times are going to drop. The drivers are going to find their way through in a unique fashion, but to the victor goes the spoils. Piotr Shabilski, another pole position.
How do you say insurance in Polish? I don't know, but that was what that final lap was for Piotr Shabilski. 57.255, good enough for pole, 9 whole tenths quicker than anybody else. It's going to be a long day if you are anyone else, if that's the pace Shabilski has, and we could be looking at champion-elect if that is the case. David Barkley will take the front row with Shabilski. Gallant and Graf share the next row. Pro-Am driver Benjamin Gallant qualifying inside the top 3. Hickman O'Malley, and then it's Victor Mendez Polanco, Ted Piper. And to round out the top 10, Bryce McClafferty, the AM driver, who could also end up being champion-elect tonight, with Nathan Brandman rounding out the top 10. Behind them, Javi Sanabria, Alexander, Thawson, Hunt, Strouch, Cersei, Daniel Kent, May, Miner, Anderson, Coffey, Nielsen, Williams, and Baumeister. The 24 cars that we do believe we have this evening. The final 3 don't appear to have set a time, but that just means they'll start near the back.
And we'll see. Those are some of our mystery men, our Le Mans Ultimate specialists that maybe decided to come play. Maybe they were just testing it out, deciding if they were brave enough, perhaps, to come down and go for a row. We'll see if they end up joining us. I hope that they do, because more cars, more fun, I reckon. And we'll sort of see how it all plays out. Shabilski, Barkley, I saw the two in qualifying. They were both trying to find their way around the track. They found themselves sharing a bit of it, and it got a little bit coming together. So I don't know if that was perhaps a teaser of what we might see. I kind of hope not. I would love to see that good old-fashioned ARL Thursday GT3 great racing that we're a fan of, the great sportsmanship, the great stories, everything that can come good. And the good news is for David Barkley, I will say, Benjamin Gallant, they are teammates. They are in different classes. There's a chance, Jesse, a little bit of teamwork, a little bit of rear gunner action, a little bit of, a shake and a bit of bake possibly on the racetrack tonight. It's an old school racetrack. Maybe we'll see some old school type of overtakes. I'm supremely excited, as I always am, but I'm getting a little sad that the season's coming to an end.
Yeah, of course, just one more round after tonight. Next Thursday, the finale will crown three champions, a pro-am, and an am champion. The biggest question mark on my card is who is going to win the pro-am championship. Two drivers have come in deadlocked at 110 championship points apiece coming into tonight. And realistically, according to my maths, and I have been doing the maths, Jack, as you might expect,
Oh boy.
no matter who comes out on top tonight, it's still going to set up a, an ultimate climax next week, where the likelihood, in all likelihood, the driver that finishes higher in that probably will be crowned the champion, simply because they're deadlocked tonight, and there's just, as long as there's not a catastrophic failure by one of them in the pro-am, it is going to be close indeed. Glad you're with us tonight. 24 cars here in America's Racing League. Big Grid Thursdays, and we're green from Watkins, Glen. Piotr Shabilski fires down into the right-hander, turn number one, 3 wide behind them. They don't settle it amongst themselves as Sam Graff comes through, but Gallant, Barkley, and Hickman ended up side by side. There's a crash in the background. Ricky Hunt's involved, and I believe Javi Sanabria has also been involved.
I saw the BMW facing the wrong way. Maybe a little bit of contact between the 2 or 3 cars involved. Maybe we'll take a look at that in a few moments. But off to another typically phenomenal start from Piotr Shabilski. It doesn't take much to get between this guy and a great race start. He's only come through. He's done it. Sam Graff off to a great start. He's jumped a position. Benjamin Gallant, though, fighting for his life. He's in a swarm of pro drivers at the race start. He's ready for a race, and, well, it's coming sort of undone for him a little bit. He's dropped down into 6th for the moment. A spur of Mustangs. We've come to see him. We've come to love him. The big V8 Freedom machines roaring down Watkins Glen, but a very clean start outside of the incident with Javi Sanabria. You think 20 cars storming down to turn 1, you'd see a little bit more than that. But they're all together. They're all engaged. They are deadlocked in this race.
Yeah, other than Javi losing out, the biggest mover backwards was Benjamin Gallant, who got stuck 3 wide on the wrong side of the racetrack at turn number 1, and everybody seemed to work their way past him. And a bit unfortunate for the pro-am driver. The good news is silver lining, still leading in that pro-am category. By the way, I was wrong about something I said about that pro-am championship. That pro-am championship right now is between Ted Piper and Stefano Zanatti. Zanatti's not in the race tonight, so regardless, Ted Piper has the opportunity to pick up some huge points against Daniel Kent, who's in 3rd place, and Benjamin Gallant, who's leading the race. I will say, if this result holds Gallant over Piper, it still sets up the finish I was talking about all along, a winner-take-all scenario in the finale just about. Meanwhile, lap 1 done, racing still going on. They're racing like the track's completely dry, but we know it's very saturated because there's a Ferrari sideways in the background. Sean Ricky Hunt putting on a drift show in the runoff of turn number 1.
That was an exceptional amount of angle, and he held the car all the way through. You do have a lot of runoff to play with at Watkins Glen. Yes, every single amount of it was used, and lost a couple of position, but I think gained a couple of fans. That was absolutely stellar work. And it's 2 wide, 3 wide coming in to the inner loop.
Oh, this is scary.
It is a little bit, but Michael Miner making it work from the outside. I think Joshua Nelson taking a little bit easy into there. Of course, new to iRacing on ARL. I don't know how much experience he's had previous. I know, very quick in most machinery in Le Mans Ultimate. Already put under the spotlight. Everybody's like, oh, how's he going to do? What's up with him? Say, from the front, still engaged. Michael Hickman, Paul O'Malley. Hickman made a mistake at the end of lap 1, and it seems he's falling back, and he's under pressure immediately. This is a pairing that we've seen race before. Hickman versus O'Malley, and if they get a little further ahead, versus Shabilski. That is the trio made in heaven for us here, Jesse, because they always put on a show, and they always have a great race.
We have a Ricky and Tetsuyo fan in chat cheering on. We love to see the allegiances and the fandoms. We love to see it. Feel free, cheer on your favorite drivers and teams in the chat. Let us know who you are watching, who you're representing here tonight. Piotr Shabilski's representing the front of the field, 2 seconds clear of Sam Graf. David Barkley in third. Michael Hickman shifted up into fourth, and Paul O'Malley, who we're riding on board with now, is trying to chase them down. As you can clearly see, it is still raining. I would call this pretty medium rain, but that spray is absolutely killer. You'll see drivers take alternate lines on purpose, maybe not the faster line, but just to get themselves out of the spray so they can sight where they're going. A near miss right there from Paul O'Malley, who I believe was doing exactly what I was saying, just using an alternate line, just trying to not be in the spray to sight his exit. And had he not been able to sight the exit there, he would have been hard into the wall, and that could be suspension damage, a car off of there. It's Ted Piper.
Piper, a little bit of a mistake. I think taking too much curb, finding a slide. You really, when it comes to wet, you know, curbs can sometimes be slippery in the dry. You can find yourself, oh, don't want to touch that curb. You really don't want to touch anything if you can avoid it. Oh, that's Paul O'Malley. He's around and in the wall at turn number 5. We saw it in qualifying. A couple of drivers go wide there, but Paul O'Malley's found himself in a bad way in the very beginning of this race, challenging Michael Hickman to jump into the top 5. Now we get to see O'Malley fight from 15th onward.
Had a couple of close calls, and that time bit him, and the McLaren's going to go off Michael Miner, and I don't think they're going to be able to stop that McLaren. Did they make it all the way to the wall? I don't actually think so. I think Michael Miner was able to save that number 224 McLaren from the wall. I see some dirt, but no real damage. But yeah, just got a little deep into the corner, too much wheel in it, too much brake in it on a wet racetrack, and spun it off. But that's one more position for Paul O'Malley that they'll get back, that they won't have to fight for. But for the Dadman GT Ford Mustang, it's going to be a long road back to the front. But if anybody can do it, Paul O'Malley can. We've seen him do it before.
We have indeed. McClafferty, another mistake by a McLaren in the final corner. Wonder if these aren't as strong in the wet as they seem to be in the dry. Of course, our AM Championship leader, few drivers able to even put any kind of pressure on. It's on now. I was about to say, Cody May looked like he was a little bit of a cork in a bottle situation. He seems to have escaped. He's now leading in AM, possibly for the first time so far this season. Will it be held? Well, stay with us. Find out soon. At the back of the field, still fights going on. All the newbies coming to join us 2 wide. I think that's Dawson and Joshua Nelson who are together trying to figure out who in the 296 is better. A little bit of maneuvering from Chris Anderson, which I've also just realized that is the same livery as Cody May. I thought I was getting cars confused, Jesse Lee, but no, they were confusing me.
Yeah, we do like to confuse liveries up here in the box because that's what we look for. We don't look for the numbers as much as we look for the car colors, and sometimes it will throw us for a loop. Does people in the real world too, whenever teams have multiple cars sliding sideways. There's Joshua Nelson in the number 24, and oh no, the rear wing, the diffuser gone. I guess they did get into the wall off of the corner, and that is going to be a lot of damage. The entire rear of that car is gone. It's not just the diffuser, it's not just the wing, it's everything. The entire rear of that machine, down to the engine and the suspension parts, are gone. That's going to need some attention down in the pit lane immediately.
That's going to need a lot. Fortunately, they have the fast repairs available, so Nelson not out of this race by any stretch of the imagination, but it is going to be difficult.
I don't know if I've seen this.
I can't say I have either. I'm sort of leaning in on my monitor, being like, can I see the engine? What does it look like? How well modeled is the engine bay? Oh no, he's gone round. A little bit of fast stuff, but slowed it down. But I was going to say, handling really well the adverse conditions of that race car. A little bit of wetness, a little bit of lack of...
He's got adverse conditions.
Yeah, oh, it's just...
Oh, boy.
Going from worse to worse, and
that
tap
rear
the wall.
suspension
I
done
don't think he's given up, though, is Nelson. He's going to bring it back into pit lane, and I sincerely hope later on in this race we'll see him start to make a move up the field. I mean, he can get some fuel on, extend his stints a little bit. That might give him a little bit of breathing room. If the rain starts slowing down, you know, some of these drivers, they might run out of fuel. They might pit in. They might have to stay on a wet tire. And it could mean that Nelson, one fewer pit stop, he gets it at the right time. And certainly not out of this race, because anything can happen when it's wet. Anything has pretty much happened outside of anybody to challenge Piotr Shabilski. The gaps open up almost 4.5 seconds at this tune, Jesse. And in qualifying, you said you weren't nervous. I was a little bit nervous. I was like, oh, this could be maybe a back to front kind of thing from Piotr if he can't put in a lap. He goes and puts one in almost a second faster than everybody else. And that wasn't just a one-off, because he just has the pace.
Yeah, he's got 4 seconds on Sam Graf right now, and going away, this is pretty much the performance we expect from Piotr Shabilski. But the question will remain, will that consistency stay there? That's what they need today. We've already seen other contenders fall by the wayside, and just as easy as it happened to them, it could happen to Piotr Shabilski if they don't keep up with the racetrack here tonight. Other things going on in chat, Sam Graf fan and a Devin Strauss fan as well. We love to see it, and I'm sure they do too when they watch the race back on repeat. They love having your support. Bryce McClafferty has had an additional incident, and have they collected Sean Ricky Hunt?
Oh no, I think they have. I think something went wrong there, big time. Queue up and see what exactly went on, because Bryce's car looks completely fine, but I know for a fact that Sean Ricky Hunt's car did lose several. I was wondering if it was maybe a self-spin into something greater. And,
or maybe he had to brake to avoid the spinning car of Sean Ricky Hunt. We'll find out. Hunt has made their way down pit lane. They crashed off of turn 11. They had enough time to get that car back down to the pit lane without having to turn an additional lap. In the chaos and in the interim, Cody May took the lead from the earlier incident that Bryce McClafferty had. Cody May, whose best finish is a P2 at Road America all the way back in round 2, and outside of that has had a couple of finishes in 10th place. But wow, what a win would feel like for Cody May after having top 10 finishes, yes, but then the one podium all season long. To have a win here near the end, and especially against Bryce McClafferty, who's been so dominant, that would be huge. Meanwhile, Paul O'Malley continues to drive back through the field. They've made their way up to 11th place. I wonder if maybe they've been a little bit of a beneficiary of some of the spins in front of them, but never mind. They have the pace, does the Dadman GT. Paul O'Malley continues to move up and will continue to do so if the timing and scoring is to be trusted here. They have the pace on the cars in front of them.
it seems like they do. A little bit of technical difficulties on my side. I think this might be the incident that took Sean Ricky Hunt down pit lane. I can only hope. You saw it was out of the final corner. This looks like the right place, right time. Nobody around, and well, they just go around and are collected into the wall. And is there a Bryce McClafferty that comes by maybe and is flummoxed? No. Which leads me to believe two separate incidents, because McClafferty's through and gone, because that's Michael Miner who's just driven by. So must have just been a little something something, and in another opportunity to see the rear end of a Ferrari getting ripped off.
Yeah, ripped off is the right term, partner, because that's exactly what's happening. But do take our word for it. Bryce McClafferty did have some spot of bother. We don't know exactly what it was. It was certainly unrelated to the Sean Ricky Hunt incident, but happened simultaneously. It made us believe that they were related. It wasn't. But Bryce had some issue that temporarily lost him 14th place, but he has regained that position as we ride on board Javi Sanabria, who you'll recall had the incident on turn 1, lap 1, and has driven back through the field a little bit and now is behind Bryce McClafferty here, fighting the car a little bit in that BMW, though I suspect if we went in car with just about anyone in today's race, you'd see a little bit of that sawing at the wheel more than anything, just due to the conditions, you got to fight the car off of some of these corners for sure.
It just is a war inside of the cockpit. It's a war on the circuit. It's extremely difficult. And as we're into just about 15 minutes, the rain has stopped on certain parts of the circuit. It looks like it's still raining here, but I'm trusting what is at the top of our screen where it shows a little picture of a cloud and a bit of rain and saying 0%. So I will trust that maybe the rain has stopped and this is just spray.
It is. It has stopped.
It has. It definitely looks
You're
like
right.
the sun started to
The
come
sun's
out.
out.
It's already gotten pretty again here at
Oh,
Watkins
but this makes
Glen.
the spray worse, though.
It-
When the sun beams down on the water droplets, this is way worse in this condition. It creates sort of a smoke, a whiteout situation. You just can't see anything at all. In a weird way, you would hope that it's cloudy, right? But this will, in this condition, dry the track out better for them. They just have to hold on as they're all going to be searching for the grip now.
They're going to have to find it. The track's going to be ever-changing. McClafferty,
Look at
though,
this smoke screen.
seeming like he can get through and does fairly easily. I think just a poor run up through the S's for Cody May. David Barkley, something's happened to them. They've just, it's happened so quickly that they've immediately towed back to pit road. Must have been a biggin, and we'll see what it was. Barkley running extremely well, starting on the front row, challenging for a top 5 finish. Was it another one coming out of turn 5? Or actually, middle of turn 6 there. Backs it into the wall and ping-pongs between the two. I think really hefty rear suspension damage. I'd be surprised if he decided to tow so quickly, but clearly decided to do that and thought that was the right move. Wasn't, maybe didn't feel safe about getting back to pit road, towing instead. Very much respect that, because it is easy to just limp back to pit road. You might think, oh, I'll probably get there faster or gain more time, but you're at risk of causing a collision. Other drivers are at risk coming around you. Fair enough. Perhaps another moment of sportsmanship that we love to see at ARL.
Yeah, I think also, too, Barkley, it kind of scared him. He bounced off the inside wall, and the car bounced back sort of onto the racetrack a little bit. He had the wherewithal to gas it up and get it back to the other side of the racetrack, smacked it on both ends, and then just decided, I think, to tow. For another reason, I think he nailed it on the head. A little bit of sportsmanship there, like, okay, I don't want to be in these guys' way in this particular section of the racetrack. Daniel Kent having an incident off of turn 11, and they continue. So that tells me that car is either not damaged very much at all, or they don't have the information that they need to pit the car anyway, because they had the option afforded to them there, crashing in turn 11, but they didn't. So that tells me that everything A-OK on Daniel Kent outside, of course, of the spin. Piotr Shabilski fan in chat cheering on the driver. Well, we have good news for you. 6 seconds ahead is your driver, Piotr Shabilski, over Sam Graff. Benjamin Gallant now back up to third. Victor Mendez, Polanco, Michael Hickman make up your top 5. Of course, Benjamin Gallant leading the Pro-Am Championship. Cody May still leading, Bryce McClafferty leading in the AM Championship. How quickly things change. We just checked in a moment ago, didn't we, partner? Bryce was behind Cody May, but now all the way up into 11th position is the AM leading McLaren.
Everything seems to just be flipping over and over again. Here's a quick replay. Something went a bit wrong for Ted Piper, and oh, I see. There was a Ferrari of some sort pointing at the wall. I believe that was Joshua Nelson who found himself round, and I thought Ted had a moment. It looked like he had a bit of damage on the front of his Mustang. It still does, frankly, but it was more of a avoidance situation rather than a mistake from Piper. And Cody May seeming to just not have the pace, quite frankly, at the moment. He's now dropped down a few more spots. He's behind Chris Anderson, the sister car. I'm going to refer to it as the number 4 versus the number 7. I'm just going to consider this to be Corvette Racing and IMSA. It's just, it's the 2 Corvettes. They look the same. They got different numbers. And they confuse me all the time. So, but Cody May just trying to stick with it. I think in most drivers who are a bit upset with these conditions, I think that's all you can do. You stick with it. You got to hope that it'll get better, and maybe you make a brilliant strategy call. You go in a bit early on wets, you call it at the right time, you get your pit stop done really well. Neil Alexander going for a ride in the bus stop, just over the curbs, managing to stop the car before anything got a little worse. Oh, Paul O'Malley coming through. He said yellow flags, never heard of him. He wants that position back. Paul O'Malley's officially inside the top 10.
And nothing really Paul could do right there except take the position. It was an egregious sort of angle that Neil Alexander rejoined the track on. Not a whole lot they could do either, but for Paul O'Malley, he just has to go around the outside and hope that there's grip. There was position gain. Just an update on Cody May going backwards. He is indeed going backwards, but it was due to some sort of incident at the time as Sean Ricky Hunt continues to set off of turn 7, the heel and toe section of the racetrack. That car sedentary for some time now. Joshua Nelson is also stopped off of turn number 1 as well, as the grip level is changing. It's going in the favorable direction, but that's not the problem. The problem is that, as I mentioned earlier in qualifying, in a changeable setting where the grip is never where you left it the lap prior, it sets yourself up for failure. It's hard to explain, but you get used to the grip being a certain level, and then you have a little bit more of it, and then you get a little bit more greedy, and then all of a sudden you overstep because it isn't a dry racetrack. It's still very much wet, as you can see from the rooster tails of the race car, but there is more grip now that the track is still saturated but isn't water logged, and it creates these issues where you get a little bit too greedy and it all goes away in a hurry. And we'll have to continue to monitor that as this track now bathed in sunshine, no rain, and it will certainly change things up entirely. In fact, already has.
It seems like it on board. Piotr Shabilski, curious what the leader sees, and well, I'm seeing what they're seeing, which is
you in the house.
Not a whole lot of, wetness, not a lot of puddles. Really, really dried up into the boot. You can see there's the puddles on the curbs there on the inside, and occasional puddles there. I think it's getting to that crossover period we saw driving offline. That is, to me, a effort of cooling the tires down. These wet tires, they are not designed for a dry road. You drive them where there is no water, they will get very hot very, very quickly. What you can do is puddle hunt. Find a puddle, drive through, get a little bit of cooling. He's staying out this lap though. Shabilski goes, it is still too wet for dries. So he's going to take it one more lap. Are we maybe going to see somebody go for a bit of a gamble here? Maybe Sam Graff, maybe Benjamin Gallant from a bit further back into the field. Coming off board, though. Still a lot of water in Sector 1, so I'm going to say right call from Shabilski, but somebody's got to do it. Someone's got to be the first. We set off the chain reaction. Somebody sees somebody going dries. They say, hey, they're going quick. I should probably do that. We'll see how it looks.
Remember, I was just going to say, remember, everybody has to pit for fuel. The tank is not at maximum capacity for the series, so everybody has to pit anyway. But what Jack's talking about is the transition over to the dry racing tires. We're certainly not there yet, but the track is absolutely in a better condition, as that onboard lap illustrated. But you will still notice Piotr is not hitting any of the curbs. They're staying away from them on purpose, and that's because not only are the curbs wet and the last thing that dries, there's also on some of the lower ones a lot of standing water, so avoiding all of the curbs, racing safely is Shabilski. Neil Alexander
Speaking of cooling,
a big incident. Yeah, extra cooling on the Porsche 911. That happened a lap ago, and they dropped several positions. And Bryce McClafferty was already on the scene and lost quite a bit of time. And I'm not sure if they lost a position, but they lost a lot of time and backed up to Ingvar Thaassen in the 333 for the AM lead there for a moment. 2 seconds the gap between those two cars now, and it was quite a bit bigger. So Bryce McClafferty not having an easy go of it here today. Just about nobody is having an easy go of it today except Piotr Shabilski.
I was going to say, it really doesn't seem like anybody has anything other than just a difficult day. Starts to step out a little bit, but held by Chris Anderson, loses a position to another driver in class, so not as important the Mountain Dew machine that I became quite a fan of when we were at Mid-Ohio. That great battle between Daniel Kent and why am I forgetting his name? Ted Piper, of course. How dare I? But a great battle and a little bit of interclass play. I forget who it was. I think it was Corey in our YouTube chat who said could be looking for some shakeups in Pro-Am. My good man, you absolutely called it because
Correct.
it is it's a buckshot of Pro-Am drivers throughout this racetrack at this point. Some doing really well, like Benjamin Gallant running 3rd overall. Some, Daniel Kent, Neil Alexander struggling a bit more than others, finding themselves with a bit of damage on their car. It's just the nature of the changing conditions. Another lap down. It's looking dry-ish, but still, I would say, Jesse, not that I'm as nearly a good an engineer as you are, it's still a bit wet for dries.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're also overselling my engineering abilities. But yeah, I would not want to come in right now. This track's still way too wet to think about going to the dries. There's sort of a line forming. You can see at the darker parts of the racetrack, but it isn't dry yet. It's going to take a little bit of doing here to get it to that point. The good news is, of course, the sunshine. It is lightly wet, and of course, the amount of cars going around the racetrack. Here's your race update. Piotr Shabilski leads Sam Graf. That's the top 2 and the top 2 in the race in the pro category. Behind them is the Pro-Am leader, Benjamin Gallant. And what a race it would be. This is best case scenario for Benjamin Gallant. Ted Piper not on the podium. And of course, Stefano Zanatti not here. This could be an excellent way to set themselves up for a championship come next week. But Gallant leads in Pro-Am and is 3rd overall over Victor Polanco in 4th and 2nd in Pro-Am. Michael Hickman completes the pro podium in 5th place. And then you've got Nathan Braunman in 6th place and 3rd in Pro-Am. Ted Piper in 4th. Devin Strauss, Paul O'Malley, right? Javi Sanabria. And then you've got Bryce McClafferty leading in Am over Ingvar Thawson, Daniel Kent, Chris Anderson, the final step of the podium in Am. Craig Searcy, Neil Alexander, Cody May, Michael Miner, Joshua Nelson, Sean Ricky Hunt, and David Barkley, the 21 cars that we have on the timing table. And we can share with you that David Barkley has DNF. They have parked the number 46 Ford.
Change for the lead in Am. Bryce McClafferty just made a little bit of a mistake coming out of turn 1. Oh, that McLaren all over the place in the S's, and it parked up in a really not ideal place when you got race cars coming through, and I think that's a tow back to pit lane. Fair enough for the McLaren there. He's going to say, nope, I'm getting straight and all the way out of Dodge I possibly could be, but tries to hold on to it. Clearly tires maybe a little bit overheated from a slide, means that we're looped around. We've gone, and for Ingvar Thawson on almost certainly a debut in this championship, I do believe, for the pseudonym, shall we say, for Tetsuo Hideyoshi. A great start, I gotta say, coming in, upset possibly in the Am race. Very few drivers have won races in Am other than Bryce McClafferty, and to be the one to beat on a debut, that's a really, really solid day. I do want to talk a bit more about the Pro-Am Championship, something I noticed, doing a bit of mental math. I was wondering, what's worst case scenario, what's best case scenario for Stefano Zanatti, given that they're not here. Of course, with the way that these are calculated, there is a drop round, and Stefano Zanatti technically is going to get points for this race simply because their drop round will be changed to a race they did not participate in, and a 7th place finish will be added to the scoring. I haven't actually done the math on what the gap would be if it finished like this. Basically, what all that says is it's not over. It's certainly not over for Zanatti, and I think it's going to be pretty darn close if it finishes like this as we go into the final round.
Yeah, for anyone confused, this 10-round championship has what's called a drop round. simply put, your worst finish of the season is omitted from your final championship results. So if that your worst finish was an eighth, that eighth place finish is just eliminated. If you have a DNF in particular, like Zanotti has because they're not here, that 0 doesn't hurt you because it is omitted from the results. Everybody gets one omission of their worst finishes. So another way of looking at it, your best 9 finishes are the only ones that count. So all of that into consideration, like Jack's saying, it's a crapshoot between a lot of drivers. But the here and now is this: Benjamin Gallant is having a day that's going to put him in a position to contend for the championship. Ted Piper is doing just enough to stay in that hunt as well. Will Zanotti be a part of that? Jack seems to think so, and we'll see in 1 week's time. But for right now, Benjamin Gallant is feasting right now, and so is Ingvar Thawson in the 333 Ferrari in the AM classification. I was looking at the AM totals, Jack, and I was trying to do the math in my head and trying to figure this out. This would not really hurt Bryce McClafferty. I don't think it actually matters because of the drop round. It doesn't really matter. He's racing Craig Searcy head to head. Craig Searcy's on the podium now in AM, but even that isn't really enough if we're completely honest. It's just been a very dominant day for, or a dominant championship rather, for Bryce McClafferty. He's stacked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins, and he's bookended it between a 6th and a 2nd place. In fact, didn't win last week at Sonoma Raceway. That win went to Jack Coffey, and of course didn't win round number 1. That round went to Barry Cochran. But every other round, Jack, McClafferty has won, and by virtue of that is kind of safe even with a bad finish here today.
Bad finish here today, possibly a worst case scenario finish next week. Could be all sorted. I would certainly say never say never. I mean, let's say retirement here, retirement next week, and then Searcy comes, wins tonight, and wins next week. It could be a championship on its head. It's never over until the fat lady sings. I'm sure somebody said that at some point in the past. Finishing up my math on the AM championship, and it looks like, according to my math, that Ted Piper and Benjamin Gallant will be tied, and Stefano Zanotti will be 5 points behind them.
Oh my God.
So that is, with a grain of salt, with a huge asterisk. It was my own mental math, so it might not be entirely right, but it should be a close estimation of where we're at. So that is just about a winner-takes-all situation for the most part. So hopefully, if it finishes this way, Zanotti's able to make it next week, and we can have a real huge throwdown in pro.
Man, I got to tell you, I love being right, but even though I am right with my pre-race prediction, I'm surprised that I'm right. I can't believe it. A 3-way showdown. What else would you expect here at America's Racing League on Big Grid Thursdays? It comes down to it like that a lot around here, as I've come to expect. And usually if there's not a 3 or 4, or in the case of one of the championships, a 5-way fight for the championship, then, I mean, are we really racing? Let's be completely honest, but that's the way it is here at ARL. Check out the link in the description for all of our races here, more than just Big Grid Thursdays, all sorts of sims and racing on tap with you. We would love to have you. 27 minutes left to go here at Watkins Glen, though, for the penultimate round, round number 9 of Big Grid Thursdays here on iRacing. Shabilsky continues to lead, but that gap has more than halved since the last time we talked about it, partner.
Yeah, that Porsche looks a whole lot bigger in the rearview mirror of Piotr Shabilsky than it was, well, name it, since the race start, pretty much, for Shabilsky. And that says to me that there may have been either one of two things: a bit of a mistake from Shabilsky, or the pace has just come to the Porsche. in this changing conditions as possible. I mean, Porsches are sort of known to be pretty good in the wet. They're known to be pretty stable when it gets slippery. Rear-engine cars, great rear traction. It could just be that that's what's starting to happen. One thing for sure that has properly engaged tonight is the fact that the pit lane is starting to get busy. Victor Mendez Polanco, first to come down. That is fuel. That is almost certainly a dry set of tires. Michael Hickman joins. The question will be, will the drivers at the front of the field, they sort of start to think, I might need to cover for that. I don't think it's going to be a big enough gap that they might be feeling the pressure, but the likes of Piper, the likes of Branham, they might want to come in soon. They might want to cover off Victor Mendez, because if it works right now, I think it's going to work really well.
Checking out the chat, the Piotr Shabilsky and the Sam Graf fans going head-to-head, just like the cars are going head-to-head on the racetrack. Folks, do you have your eagle eyes on? Do you spy what I spy on the racetrack? No, it's not the closing gap for the lead of the race. It's a dry racing line. Now is the right time to come into pit lane. And Jack made an excellent point earlier. You don't want to come in early. You want to be first in, but at the right time. Coming in too early, too eager, is not the right strat, but I think the track is dry enough, and I also think Victor Mendez Polanco and Michael Hickman coming in is going to pull a lot of these drivers down the pit lane, but not the lead too. They're going another lap. They must feel like the track isn't quite ready yet, even though it's very clearly transitioning. There's a light gray stripe around the almost entirety of the racing circuit, but it's not quite there yet. Sam Graf runs off of the racetrack briefly and still gains time as we head up the S's. That tells me that Sam Graf's Porsche is way more comfortable in these changing mixed conditions. Either that or Piotr Shabilsky is just a little bit safer. Not safe for Victor Mendez Polanco. We talked about maybe not wanting to come in too early. The dry tires caught a patch of wet asphalt.
That just seems like that's exactly what happened here. Maybe too early, but in the third sector, that's the one where I felt like it was the driest earliest. You can see very little spray coming off the cars, but still some spray. That Mustang looks like it's limping a little bit back to pit lane. Michael Hickman still going reasonably strong. I was about to say, maybe I feel like a missed opportunity for Shabilsky to not go in when the gap is closing, but clearly knowing what they have underneath him, knowing, yeah, it's still too early, even though I'm losing time, he can't get this wrong. Even if, let's say, Sam Graf comes through, is able to make an overtake, even if it's too early for wets, Shabilsky can't take the gamble. After all, he's looking at a championship here, and not that Sam Graf's not in the fight, it's that Shabilsky, he can get away with a second place here. He doesn't have to put it all on the line for a few extra points, for 3 extra points, because, I mean, O'Malley still is, I think, a net 4th, really, so no big points coming their way. It's all to play for, and this is why I like a wet to dry race or any sort of changing conditions, Jesse. It's because I'm not in it right now, so I don't have to do the mental gymnastics. I don't have to work as hard as these drivers are. Granted, for the most part tonight, making it look reasonably easy. Ted Piper sneaking up the inside of Nathan Branham. I was talking about my math. Well, it's all changed for the moment because he's standing P2 in Pro-Am. This is a drive that could be worth a whole heck of a lot for Ted. Still nobody else taking a bite of the apple and going down pit lane. Everybody staying out.
Everybody playing it safe, and I'm quite surprised by that. Not from Piotr Shabilsky. I think Shabilsky staying out makes sense, but if I'm Sam Graf, I have to think that Sam obviously knows what they're doing. They're in the top 5 in the championship. They know how to get it done, but they must think the track is still too wet to risk it coming in, and maybe they have a point because Victor Mendez Polanco came in and had a little bit of an incident, so they might be right on the money. Even though the track is drying, it isn't quite ready yet. But what I can say is that Sam Graf is there, less than 3/4 of a second off the back of Shabilsky. We were just riding on the back of Piotr's number 90 leading Ford Mustang, looking back at the bright red Sam Graf Porsche. And this is all that's in it, folks, for the lead. Extra insight coming in from chat. The Porsche is definitely fast in the damp and the dry conditions here at Watkins Glen. Piotr needs to lock in. Oh, a little bit of a wiggle there, but maybe a little wiggle from both cars as they transition onto the grip and with the treaded block racing tires. Of course, these cars have treads on them, and as you wear them away and drive them on the dry racing line, they heat up, they start to slip out from under you. Not conducive to grip at all, but here we are, 4/10 in it between the top two. Still, both of them have a pit stop to do.
I mean, it may be the sure fact that Porsche is good in these conditions, but that's only if the driver in it can capitalize on it. Sam Graf took an 8-second gap, now to a 2/10 gap to less than that, because the Mustang's starting to wiggle its hips. It's looking unsettled. It's looking like those wet tires are starting to slip a little bit. We're just about to be inside of a 1/10 of a second, not quite. Sam Graf knows that's not the same time to make the move. It's going to be later. It's probably going to be towards the boot section. Maybe turn 7's a good opportunity if they can get there, but through the bus stop, Mustang's looking strong again. Coming out of a corner, though, here comes the Porsche back in again. More drivers coming down pit lane. This time, Benjamin Gallant is the furthest ahead to be in. Paul O'Malley also in pit lane. I think it might be, Jesse, this lap in for the leading pair. I don't know how late can Piotr make it. It just looks like there is zero grip in that Mustang.
Yeah, I know there's some wet patches on the racetrack. You can see that clearly, still some water being kicked up by the rear tires of the car. But I just think that you have to come in here. There is a dry line through a lot of the racetrack, and I think you got to risk it here, especially if you're Sam Graf. If you want to be extra sure and you're Piotr Shabilski, I think maybe you could go around again, but you might be sort of prolonging the inevitable, because that dry line is certainly coming in. And I think the dry tires can take just a little bit of a damp racetrack if you're really careful now in these conditions. But intending to come down the pit lane is Shabilski. Staying out is Sam Graf. The leader is in. Piotr Shabilski will hand the lead over to Sam Graf, who stays out for an additional lap.
I think this is brilliant from Sam. He was being held up by the Mustang. He could clearly go quicker than he was. May as well. I mean, you've said it, Jesse, so many times this championship. You can't win by playing the other person's game. So this is how Sam Graf is going to differentiate his strategy. He's going to go that one lap longer. His pit stop's going to be shorter because he's taking on less fuel. And ideally, the dry tires are going to be more suited to the racetrack. So I think this is the way to go. I honestly could think a really good in-lap from Sam Graf, maybe a little bit of a slippery out-lap from Shabilski. We could be looking for Sam comes down pit road and stays in the lead of the race.
I think the big takeaway for me from what you just said is you listen to me when I say things? Holy moly.
Occasionally, yeah. You're a smart fellow.
I've never heard that in my entire life. Piotr Shabilski comes out of the pit lane with all the work to do. He's hoping that Sam Graf's tires do not have the grip that the slick racing tires do. Piotr's going to want to get those tires up to operating temperature as quickly as possible, staying on the dry line, doing everything to get the heat back into the brakes to try and equalize this and retake the lead whenever Graf comes into the pit lane, where we suspect will be sometime soon. But I've suspected that for the past 5 laps, and Sam has continued. But Shabilski needs to press on here in these uncertain conditions on the drying racetrack, on the slick tire, and hopefully make up just enough time to stay out in front. Was literally nothing in it between the top two prior to that. We'll see if the 737 comes in. They are. Sam Graf into the pit lane under the commentary position, and will do their pit stop, surely switching that car over to the dry tires. But this is the story. Where do they come out versus Piotr Shabilski?
I've noticed, I think there's a bit of damage on the front of that Mustang. I didn't notice it before, but I'm certainly seeing it now. That front right, you can see if we get a straight on shot here, can see that you can see far more of the tire on the front left than you can, or on the front right, excuse me, than you can on the front left. So that could be hampering the ability, though the car is looking reasonably sorted. Sam Graf still sitting in his pit lane position, and we'll see if he's going to get moving. If he is, there he goes. He's released from his pit box. He's into the pit exit. He's absolutely got this on the money. Does he have the ability, though? Warm up those dries, find the track, because Piotr's had a lap to sight this in. He knows what he needs to do. He's probably got a little bit more pace, but 4 seconds, the gap for Sam Graf. Absolutely perfect strategy as far as I can see.
Well, I'm glad that he listened to you over me. Otherwise, he would have pitted like 5 laps too early. Jack was on it with the strategy call here tonight. And you're right. Something does look askew on the front of the number 90 Ford Mustang. And I can't tell if that's been there for a while or that's new. I don't know if I'm getting Mandela affected. I don't know. But something does look different on the front of Shabilsky's car. But right you are. The tires will be warmer and up the temperature. And Piotr will also have more knowledge of what the track conditions are like on the slicks as well. 2.5 second gap continuing to close slightly. We'll see if Shabilsky uses their warmer tires to great advantage. Meanwhile, this fight continuing to go on, and they sort it out only just. And look at this, advantageous move for Hickman maybe. No, thinks better of it as they exit the bus stop.
Michael Hickman, earliest to come in on those wet tires, or to come off of those wet tires in the pro class. And you can see the position's been given up to Paul O'Malley. O'Malley's now coming to 3rd in class in this race, 5th overall. So maybe a bit of a slight blunder from Hickman. Of course, 14.5 minutes to go in this race. Still plenty of time for favors to change, though. The drivers, I would say, a little bit less to think about. There's no, well, there's a little bit of water, but no standing water, no scary puddles that I can see. So not having to worry too much. They get to get back to doing what they are best at, which is driving race cars really fast in, well, optimal, semi-optimal conditions. Those puddles, though, on those curbs looking a little dangerous in the 3rd sector for Hickman. At the front, though, the gap already. We're looking out of the front of Sam Graf's car, but just behind him, I know for a fact, there is Piotr Shabilsky. The Piotr fan club in chat immediately saying he's got this in the bag. That is confident, and I feel that Mustang's oozing with confidence. Graf might have had it initially. Oh, he starts to go around. He's coming out of the bus stop into turn 5, into the wall. Huge for Sam Graf. I was going to say he's going to have to soak up the pressure, and it's all come undone immediately with a near miss with the number 4 Corvette of Chris Anderson. My goodness, what a drive to get into that position for Sam, but he couldn't hold on to it. It's going to be either a long drive to pit lane or into the eventual tow. I think it's going to be exactly the latter, towing to pit lane from P1. Shabilsky did, in fact, have it in the bag, just a little bit quicker and a little bit more dramatic than we thought.
Chat absolutely erupting at the drama. Sam Graf hard into the wall, into the carousel, and their race day is over, handing the lead back over to Piotr Shabilsky. Benjamin Gallant in P2. I thought Piotr was in both spots there. Piotr Shabilsky, so good in 1st and 2nd place. No, Benjamin Gallant in Pro-Am in 2nd place with Victor Mendez Polanco in the final step of the podium. Paul O'Malley in that long drive back through, remember, was outside the top 10 after their early incident, all the way up into 4th place, and finds themselves in 2nd place in class over Michael Hickman, Nathan Branham, Devin Strauss, Javi Sanabria out of nowhere. Remember, they had early issues, were dead last in this race. Inside the top 10 in 8th place, Daniel Kent, Neil Alexander, the top 10, and Ingvar Thalsen leading in the AM class. What more could you say? Craig Searcy and Cody May, the top 3 in the AM category. Oh my goodness, what drama we've had here. A lot of class leaders having issues, and race leaders indeed throughout this race in these changeable conditions.
And tears for Sam Graff, and it's so unfortunate. You're coming off. Oh, I was about to say, I was wondering if someone else might have a similar incident. Hickman, the back of his McLaren, stepping out in a similar fashion to the Porsche. Still puddles. I called it too soon. I said they didn't have anything to worry about. Surely no more puddles. Surely no more.
Oh, boy.
Oh, indeed. Surely no more danger with the wet weather. Well, good news that I'm not currently in a race car, because I would currently be in every single wall. And in news from the administration team here at ARL, our very own Sean Stewart saying he had money on this race and that Sam Graff is fired. That is almost certainly a good old joke. But wow, that's
been fired live on television before. That's got to sting.
Oh man, that's gotta hurt. I'm sure it'll happen to me one of these days.
Oh my goodness. Well, with commiserations to Sam Graff for the race and the loss of his profession here tonight. Rest in peace. Yeah, just rather unfortunate for Sam Graff. You can't say he wasn't going for it, because that's what he was doing. He was cooking around the carousel and just got a little bit too much wheel in it when he was trying to slow it down, and just backed it into the wall, completely destroying the rear suspension of the number 737 Porsche. And that's all he was trying to do. He was just trying to make up, well, just sort of save some time, more or less, and not allow Piotr to get a huge run. And it all came undone. Maybe a little bit of mirror driving nonetheless. Got to give Sam a lot of credit. Had the right strategy, was going for it. Just wasn't meant to be.
Wasn't meant to be for some, was maybe meant to be for others. We were talking about him. Javi Sanabria, sort of from nowhere, trying to make moves further up the Pro-Am field, was backwards at turn one, almost 50, a little over 50 minutes ago. He's now trying to size up Devin Strauss in the Lilac Porsche, almost having a move into the bus stop. Not quite being able to get it to work out, but the Pro-Am starting to heat up a few spots further back. Ted Piper under fire, under threat from Neil Alexander. Everything changing up. I thought Ted was in for a stronger result than this. I'm wondering maybe something happening in the pit stop, maybe something happening on the outlap, because yes, it was a net second in class. There were pit stops happening around, but to end up all the way down in fifth in class, oh, sorry, seventh in class for Ted Piper. I don't need to do the math on that because I've got it on hand. That means if it finishes the way it is right now, he will go into the finale dead tied with Stefano Zanatti, exactly how he came into this race.
Oh my goodness. What is old is new again, and the rivalries never seem to stop. Nobody being able to get a leg up on each other in the Pro-Am class. While we have a moment, we'd like to take a moment to thank all of you for being with us here on a Thursday night, wherever you are in the world. We invite you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more America's Racing League action. You can also check out our calendar on SimGrid. All the championships and races are listed for you there. Multiple different sims involved, different series, different categories. And we'd love to have you. We'd love to be talking about you in an upcoming season here at America's Racing League. It certainly is a lot of fun. We also invite you to check out all of our sponsors, and we thank them for making this race and every race possible. VPG Sim Wheels, Security Solutions NW, SimGrid, Coach Dave Delta, and Crosby Stores New York. Thank you very much, and check out all of them by visiting the links in the description. Final 7 minutes of racing here from Watkins Glen in round 9 of Big Grid Thursdays. Championship left to be decided in week 10, partner. But today we've had a little bit of everything, including changeable weather.
Especially changeable weather. Now, we had a little bit of a lull. Everybody trying to figure out where they needed to be as the pit stop started to happen, but the race has been reignited again. Javi Sanabria still trying to work their way past Devin Strauss. Victor Mendez Polanco has now caught up to the back of Benjamin Gallant. He's had this lead in class in hand for this entire race, but in the final 6 minutes, he's going to maybe peek at the rearview mirror just a little bit. Victor, of course, the very first driver to come in onto the dry tires. In fact, I believe had a little bit of a spin on those tires as well. So clearly the extra lap or two just working an absolute treat, getting a sooner view of the circuit, maybe making less mistakes in the slicktermediate condition, as I like to call it. The slicktermediate. It's
I'm gonna need a definition and country of origin.
A country of origin, Florida. Definition, well, slicktermediate, I think I've heard it before in the world of Formula One. It's the idea that the intermediate tire, you work all the grooves out of it and it becomes a slick tire. No, I use it in a different way in sports car racing, which is the intermediate condition where you throw on slicks and it's just a little bit sketchy with a little bit of wetness. So it's I don't know, it sounds nice.
Folks, you came for a race, you got a vocab lesson, you are welcome.
A little bit of knowledge spread across the world here. It's getting close though. I think Victor's just got the pace here, stepping out of the slipstream a little bit. You can see the gap on the left closing just a little bit. Backs out before the braking zone. Just gonna try to apply the pressure on to Benjamin Gallant. This is another thing that could change this championship going into the final round, maybe going a little bit wide, losing a little bit of run through the S's, an opportunity for Victor. He's just going to have to figure out, what can I do outside, inside, where do I want to be? I want to be right alongside, but to do it from here into the bus stop is perilous. Backs out, I think rightfully so, but Benjamin would come out of this race with the lead in the championship. I think with second, they would still be able to do it, but the margin would be far closer. So championship complications oozing out of this circuit. The only thing that is just about for sure is that Shabilsky is going to put more distance between themselves and anybody else in pro class. Don't quite take a bow, but start practicing those bows, because I feel it coming for Piotr Shabilsky.
Get your thank yous in order if you're Piotr Shabilsky, I would say. Certainly looking that way, but all to do in the Pro-Am category, and all to do here tonight in the Pro-Am category for the overall win. Around the outside goes Victor Mendez Polanco. Can't quite do it. Just trying to get a better run out of the corner, and they will do. How defensive will Gallant go to the middle of the racetrack, weaving left and right is Victor Polanco. Doesn't quite get it done. Will tuck right up to the back bumper of Gallant as we head down turn 11. Just trying the same thing, trying a long run up to get a run down into turn number 1. He might have it. Middle of the racetrack for Gallant now. Not fully defensive, not fully on the racing line. Fakes a move, does Polanco down to the inside. It was a dummy. Wasn't ever going to go for that. Gallant doesn't fall for it. Runs a little bit wide. Up the inside. A sniff for Polanco up the S's. Has the inside position, the preferred position, and he might go through. Hanging hard on the inside. Here is Gallant, but the position surrendered. Immediately back in the slipstream, though, is Benjamin Gallant.
Absolutely stellar car placement from Polanco there. He saw that Benjamin went a little bit wide, got on that curb and left open a space. A lot of curb being taken in the bus stop. Confident is Victor, but it was just beautifully done. It's a bit brave to stick a nose into the S's in the dry and the wet whenever on any given day, but just knew, I have the run, I have the car position, I'm going to do this with confidence. Both drivers giving each other space, but is it a moment that will decide it? We don't have long to find out, but Gallant maybe not able to hang with Victor as he's coming through. Paul O'Malley catching up to these two. Not a fight in class, but about to need to get out the popcorn, because it's going to be a really good view. Should be 2 more laps in this race. I think, actually, it might be a little bit close. Piotr Shabilsky getting ready to come across the line, and I have to admit, I don't know what the lap times are at this stage of the race. I'd assume they're close to dry conditions. They might not be completely up to it, But regardless, whether this is the last lap, whether this is the penultimate lap, it all can be undone in a moment. That's the white flag being waved above the start-finish line. We are in the final lap. Benjamin Gallant, a couple of chances, maybe not even, but might have to settle for second. Jesse Lee, another, I've just been, they've delivered again. Plainly put,
Yeah.
Our wonderful drivers have just delivered us a race to entertain you, me, and the masses. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, it really has. And is it selfish to expect this kind of racing week in and week out? Because we get it week in and week out. So I show up here on Thursday nights here at ARL, and I just sort of expected if we just get it every single week. There's always fantastic racing, late passes, good strategy, and everything is just so well done. And the majority of incidents, of course, are self-inflicted, and you love to see this racing side by side here into the bus stop, and you just assume they're going to make it. And in most leagues, that's just not a possibility. But once again, they do. This race between Strauss and Sanabria fighting for 7th place. And, of course, important points here for both of these cars as they race here towards the checkered flag. But here comes Piotr Shabilski. Took pole position on the final qualifying lap and had to retake the lead of the race after the pit stop, but gets it done. Once again, the number 90 Ford wins it here at Watkins Glen.
Feel like we've seen it.
Does it again.
I feel like we've seen it a couple of times. He's on a 4-race win streak to nearly close out his season. Victor Mendez Polanco comes to take the victory in Pro-Am and second overall, best of the rest in the entire field. Benjamin Gallant settling for second. Paul O'Malley in Pro doing the same. Hickman has come across the line, as well as Nathan Branham. Devin Strauss has fended off Javi Sanabria for long enough. 7th and 8th position, they're going to come through. Following them, Daniel Kent, Ted Piper, and I believe that is Michael Miner, also with a unique cooling solution for today. There's Ted Piper coming through. A little bit later than I expected, but through 10th overall, 7th in class, I do believe. At this stage, everybody who was in this race, take a bow, because there was no part of that race that was easy at all.
Yeah, you said it. That was a difficult race. It was started in a downpour, and that's difficult enough in a field of 20+ cars. And then you get the rain letting up, and that changes the track, and then the sun comes out and it starts to dry up. When do you take your pit stop? That played a factor as well. Anybody who made it to the finish of this one absolutely deserves a round of applause. That was a very tough race and well held by everybody out there. Shabilski wins the race, Polanco wins it in Pro-Am, and Ingvar Thawson wins it in the AM category. Just some fantastic, other than Shabilski, everybody else, everything else to me was a complete surprise tonight.
Oh, absolutely. There's, few certainties. I think Shabilski putting it on pole, having a good run at it. It almost wasn't certain. It was this phenomenal fight. But you said earlier on, Jesse, is it selfish to expect this week after week? I feel like the answer is yes, but I feel like we could also expect it entirely, because
Yeah.
I don't think we've been let down a single time this season. The races that we've covered, and teasers already underway for season 4. It will be happening. Very similar format to this, I do believe. I know the start date's October the 1st, 2026. So that is for sure to look forward to. We got to wrap this championship up first, and it will be an absolute great one. Your finishing results as they stand in Watkins Glen. Piotr Shabilski from pole takes victory. Victor Mendez Polanco takes victory in Pro-Am. Benjamin Gallant finishes 3rd overall. Paul O'Malley 4th. Michael Hickman takes 5th. Nathan Branham takes 6th. Devin Strauss takes 7th. Javi Sanabria 8th. Daniel Kent in 9th. Ted Piper in 10th. Neil Alexander in 11th. Ingvar Thawson, victory in the AM class on the debut. Craig Searcy, 13th. Cody May, 14th. Sam Graff, in 15th with Anderson, Minor, and Blaise McClafferty 16th, 17th, and 18th, with retirements from Nelson, Sean Ricky Hunt, and David Barkley. We were delivered everything. We were promised nothing. Jesse, it was an absolutely stellar race. And I have to say, it was stellarly driven by one driver in particular, who I know you are speaking with now, none other than Piotr Shabilsky.
Piotr, we got to stop meeting like this. You just keep winning and winning. Left it a little late in qualifying, but had the right stuff in the race. And even when it looked like you may be covered off by Sam Graff, you found a way. You had the right strategy. You had the pace and ended up winning anyway. But enough about my recap. You talk us through your race and your day here at what was a wet Watkins Glen. Piotr sorting out his
Oh, am I
audio
muted?
device. Yep, you sure were,
I'm
but
muted.
there
My
you are.
bad. Yeah, no. For quali, it was a little bit scared for myself. I yeah, I did save everything, and I couldn't find the pace I needed to, so I went back in the pits to tweak something and pulled the pole lap. But for the race, I just tried to keep as much as on the off the wall as possible, and try to at least do some steady paces.
I gotta say, it was impressive. Not only the last second, the nail biting pole lap, but you just seemed to drive away in the race, and then sort of got caught by Sam in the middle whenever it was drying. But suddenly, you put the racing slicks on. You come out second. All of a sudden, you had the pace again.
Yes. So I was watching the gap to Sam, and I think someone was a lapped car behind me on the dry tires. So I was watching how fast they would come up to me on those dry tires during the drying part, because the wets were cooking over like 200 degrees. So I was praying, and Sam was booking it, but and then the little mishap where he got in front of me is uh, iRacing decided to turn off my traction control at the end of the pit lane when I swapped to dries, and I kind of dinged the pit exit wall, so I had to recuperate myself. But after that, I found the pace again.
Yeah, we were wondering. We saw a little damage on the front of the Ford, and we knew that we thought that wasn't there before, but that is that's a good confirmation. Jack and I will be able to sleep tonight. Piotr, anybody you would like to shout out or thank?
um, like always, thank you to you guys for hosting this as always and commenting. Thank you to DTC for getting me involved with ARL and keep bringing me out to these seasons, and GeForce Sim Racing Lounge, uh, constantly bringing me up and bringing me into competitions that I don't think I could be in, but I have the pace to show I am in.
There you have it. Piotr Shabilsky looking like champion elect after another brilliant win. Congratulations.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
You too. Piotr Shabilsky, everybody, a winner here at Watkins Glen. And now Jack Mays is down with Ingvar Thawson.
Ingvar Thawson, or should I call you by your real name, Mr. Tetsuo Hideyoshi, coming from Le Mans Ultimate over and showing the boys how it's done in AM. Great drive, great work in changeable conditions. I can't imagine any part of that was easy. I mean, I would imagine you're pleased. Are you pleased with your performance tonight?
Yeah, I'm very happy. This is actually my first official race in GT3 with iRacing, so it's definitely a new experience. Bunch of new things to get used to, overlays, the rain conditions, also a first after the Monday race with the Porsche pickup. Just want to apologize that T1 I had some contact with Javier. Couldn't see anything in front of me, to be honest. But just want to apologize. I'm glad that he recovered, and I'm happy I could stay alive. I had a couple moments there on hitting the wall and trying to control the car and spin a little bit, but overall, I'm very happy with the results, and glad that I could stay with the field.
Well, first official GT3 race to first official win in class in the championship. There's not much more that can be better done than that. But no, I appreciate you. I did. We talked. Jesse and I've talked about the sportsmanship in this league in iRacing, and immediately you're making our point ever clear. Apologizing on air. I made a boo boo. Hey, if it makes you feel better, Javier beat you, so it's all good. It all ended up perfect in the end overall. But so, biggest change coming from LMU GT3s to iRacing GT3s. What do you think that is?
I would say definitely the force feedback, the car feeling, paired with the tires. I think it's completely different tire management with the temperatures going up. The line with the rubber in certain parts of the track, you got to be careful. You see a lot of guys going up on T2 were spitting out, and also on that chicane on the back end. So that was definitely challenging. Trying to control and learning while I'm racing, that was the hardest part, right? Just trying to experiment, trying to go offline, trying to see what's best, where I can keep the grip. But overall, yeah, really happy with the results, and want to thank everyone in ARL group, the Le Mans Ultimate guys that also encouraged me to be here, and appreciate Ted and the rest of the group having me.
Well, thank you, Tetsu, for joining us, or Ingvar Thaassen. Congratulations on a winning class. Congrats on a great result in your first GT3 affair. And well, considering how well it went for you, hopefully we'll see you around soon.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be back on next season. I'll see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Jesse Lee, final interview of the night. Our winner in Pro Am, Victor Mendez Polanco. You're down with him, getting the scoop.
My goodness, out of absolute nowhere, Victor Mendez Polanco wins the race, and what a brilliant one it was. Tell us what it was like from behind the wheel to drive up through there to get the win. How do you feel?
I felt absolutely fantastic. Shout out to you guys for the amazing broadcast. I was looking forward to rewatching it at home later to see the absolute chaos that it probably was, because the majority of us couldn't see. They're behind each other, so it was rough conditions. So honestly, I just try to keep it together there, and hopefully like survive to the end. Um, I'm I'm a driver for Sim One Racing. I don't have a sim at home, so I come here on a daily to just try to get laps and practice for every upcoming race. I've only been like a month and a half into iRacing, so just trying to get up to speed. And I did not expect to get a podium in this rainy race, judging by Road America. That was my first ever race here in ARL. So to come home second was definitely unexpected, but I started feeling very confident in the rain. I was battling there with Benjamin. That was an amazing battle. I was trying to keep it as clean as possible. And so I did. I did not really trust that turn one bottom lane because I saw a little puddle there. So, but I was like, you know what? I have to send it because the race is about to end. So I sent it. It gripped up, and I was very thankful because I definitely didn't want to get into Benjamin there. I wanted to finish it out strong and clean. Shout out to Peter. We got New Jersey Sim Centers 1-2. So that was pretty cool. I've spoken to Peter before and in G Force, and obviously in real life, and he's a tremendous talent, great kid. Got a lot to look forward to. I think we all have a lot to look forward to in this season, in this league. And honestly, just very content, very happy with my result, and definitely a confidence booster.
I was gonna ask Victor. I mean, a little bit of extra effort, like you just said, that you have to put into it. Most people just hop into their sim rig, which is in the other room. For you, you're learning a new sim. You have to sort of travel, right, to go to your sim rig. I think you said so. Is this extra special because of the extra effort you've had to put in learning the sim, being in the sim like you are, and now you're rewarded with victory? Is it extra sweet?
Oh, it's absolutely extra sweet. It's just been a long time coming. I've been dreaming to hop on iRacing and record my races for a very long time. In Sim One Racing, they have a monthly and weekly challenge, weekly qualifier, to where if you finish in the top three in their weekly challenges, you can participate in their monthly race, and if you win that monthly race you will then participate as their official Sim 1 driver. So I was able to win that in July, and I immediately hopped on iRacing to try to get accustomed to iRacing because it's completely different than Assetto Corsa because that's what they use in their Sims here. So I got accustomed to that, and I was told by the I was told about ARL from Hugo DeSantos, who races in the Monday Porsche Cup, so I was very thankful that he told me about it. Honestly, the Ford Mustang drove absolutely amazing from the very beginning of the season. So was very loyal to the Mustang. And honestly, it's been a long time coming. It's been a month and a half since I've been on iRacing, and I'm very thankful, and it is extra sweet to answer your question. To come a long way from no sim at home to being able to win a monthly championship for Sim One Racing and be one of their drivers to now finishing second to Peter, who I think is a hell of a driver. It feels very good, and I look forward to more races in ARL. Shout out to Ted for putting this together, for George for being so dope and willing in the ARL league. And shout out to you guys. Absolutely amazing broadcast. I look forward to clicking like on the ARL YouTube and subscribing, of course, and rewatching every stream of every race.
Well, you're an amazing driver, Victor. I just got to say, for somebody who's only had a month and a half experience in iRacing, to do what you did is nothing short of exceptional. Congratulations.
Thank you guys so much. You guys have a great night, and shout out to you, Benjamin. I know you're still in here, so good driving.
There you have it. Victor Mendez Polanco, a winner tonight, and I think put a lot of drivers here on Big Grid Thursdays on notice. What do you think, Jack?
Oh, absolutely. I think call it a end of season reality check. Maybe everybody's starting to get comfortable. They're like, yeah, I'll probably finish here or here, or this is probably as good as I'm going to do. Had some upsets tonight. Had some great fights, some surprise winners, and it's turned out to be an absolutely stellar event. Hey, don't rest on your laurels. Practice, practice, practice. The season hasn't quite concluded, so it is still absolutely all to play for. We won't force any more math down your throat that's probably wrong from Jesse or I, but what I can say for certain in the pro category, Piotr Shabilski is at a very comfortable point, but he has not won anything yet. In Pro-Am, I believe Benjamin Galot's taken the lead by a couple of points, but it is incredibly close between them and two others, Ted Piper and Stefano Zanatti. AM Championship all but wrapped up by Bryce McClafferty, but we know there's great talent in the AM field, and I'm sure they're going to give us a great race regardless. Jesse, as always on a Thursday night, I had an absolute blast, and thank you for being my co-presenter, taking the reins since I'm a little under the weather. Fortunately, did not get into a coughing fit live on the broadcast, so I consider that for myself an absolute win. But it was a win for everybody who got to watch the race. If you're still with us, like, subscribe, come join us on americasracingleague.com. Come join an event. We'd love to have you. We'd love to see you. Final thank you to all of our wonderful drivers here tonight. Jesse, any final words before we go?
Well, I think you just about summed it up. It was a fantastic race. We didn't know what we were going to get. It turned wet into dry. It flipped the race upside down. And there's one thing left to do this season, and that is hand out some hardware. 1 week from tonight, the final season 3 round of Big Grid Thursday at Barber Motor Sports Park, September 3rd. Set your clock, like, subscribe, hit that little bell so you know when we go live. We're going to crown 3 champions in Pro and Am, and we're going to settle this 3 or 4-way fight for the Pro Am championship that's been stalemated all season. We would love to have you. Big shout out to the drivers, the organizers, everyone behind the scenes here at America's Racing League. A special shout out to our sponsors again. And on behalf of everyone here at ARL, I've been Jesse Lee, joined by Jack Mays. We'll see you next week for the finale. And until then, have a good night.